Howdy folks, and welcome back to Western Australia. Today I want to look at the GPO, the General Post Office, because in this game post offices are very telling. And while I've got your attention to, if anyone just stumbled upon my channel and doesn't understand what's going on, please look at the playlists. They're due for an update and I will try and keep them updated to give you a general overview, because I understand that what I'm covering is fairly niche. So on with it.
Wake up and listen.
So the plan was to talk about the Perth Post Office, General Post Office as it's known, but then I realised that the current, well, it's not even current anymore, the main postal building was not the original building. So before that there was, it appeared as a shack in a sketch. So I haven't even bothered including it. It doesn't look remotely real, but it may well have once been the post office. Then we moved into the second post office, which you'll recognise from my first video. This baby, which is the Treasury building. So the post office just formed part of it. Now, much as I would love to go down that rabbit hole today, I'm already way in deep and still just trying to cover the post office and the block that it's on, because I think the block has some merit. So, history of postal services. In the first year of the colony, the harbour master was appointed to perform the postal services for the colony. A general post office was proclaimed in St George's Terrace in 1835, and in 1841 a postmaster general was appointed. The Colonial Posts and Telegraph Department took over control of Perth's telegraph services in 1871 and telephone services in 1889. The Perth General Post Office was relocated to St George's Terrace between 1887 and 1890. We'll dig into that further when I do get to that building. However, by 1910, this accommodation was inadequate for the services provided. In 1900, there were 175 post offices across Western Australia. There's another 10 hours of video there, isn't it? Together with 160 telephone exchanges, the Commonwealth took over control of the postal and telecommunication services at Federation in 1901. So, the building we're talking about doesn't actually start construction until 1911. And we've already looked briefly at the railway station, which was in a swamp. Now we needed to move a block back to Murray Street and look at the arcade that they built and the main buildings, which would be the General Post Office and this one as it is now, and the Commonwealth Bank building, which is next door. So started in 1911 and finished not until 1923. So I guess that's kind of out of our timeline. And here are the construction photos. So I guess we've got nothing much further to talk about.
Well, now I think I'll be going. I'll say goodbye till next time.
No, I'm kidding. You are still here, aren't you? Okay, let's look at the heritage database and see what that says. The Perth GPO is a key townscape element, being the central building of Forrest Place, intended to be Perth's major civic space. The aesthetic attributes of the GPO, which combine well with the Commonwealth Bank and the railway station to create the Forrest Place precinct, are important in establishing the identity of the city of Perth. The Perth GPO is a fine example of monumental architecture. It certainly is too. It's quite stunning when you're standing there looking at it, and I've walked past it so many times and paid no attention. The GPO is of architectural significance as a rare example of Australia of a large building in the beaux-arts style. The characteristics of this style are well demonstrated in both the exterior and interior. The exterior is monumental in scale, symmetrical, and has a facade of sculptural quality arising from the use of large-scale classical motifs such as giant ionic columns and high-quality local materials, Donnybrook freestone and Mahogany Creek granite, and craftsmanship. Similar neoclassical details are also evident in the interior, particularly in the significant postal hall. The interiors are noteworthy for their extensive use of Western Australia jarrah. I won't go on. You can come and look at this if you want to. The thing I wanted to point out was historical significance for its association with J.S. John Smith Murdoch, who as Commonwealth architect was responsible for many important Commonwealth buildings throughout Australia. So let's take a quick look at John Smith Murdoch, the architect. I won't go through all this. We don't really need to know. You can come back and look at it. I was just looking for more images of him because there's really nothing showing up. But he is, I'll insert a picture here. On Wikipedia, we know that he was born in Scotland, dry and quiet, frugal, blah blah, never married, died a bachelor, and a member of the Masonic order. It is claimed he incorporated many Masonic motifs into his designs. So let's just have a quick look at the buildings to compare. The provisional, it was never meant to be a permanent building according to all the official tales. So Canberra, later with the new Parliament House behind it. I'll flip through, you stop where you need to stop, but I'll just show you the type of architecture he was designing. That's decorative, isn't it? Brisbane, Victoria Bridge, Brisbane. Mackay in Queensland, I'm assuming. Brisbane. Boggo Road Jail. So many buildings to look at. And this one I've just popped another picture in as well because this one doesn't show quite what's happening around the bottom of that building. And the same with this one, the former mail exchange. There's windows here and you're at ground level just here. So I was going to say too, this one's very, very similar to the GPO and the Commonwealth Bank building, very similar style, including the extra piece on the roof, the whole extra floor. Canberra again. And there we are back at our GPO and the Commonwealth Bank building. That's an interesting one, Anzac Square. Similar thing where you've got a walkway added. I'm not sure, this is what they've done in Perth as well. They've put a walkway on one side. Okay, and that's it. Okay, so this is a really good image of Forrest Place, but don't be deceived. This is actually a corner here, and this is all in one straight line. So a panoramic view, but give you a general idea of what the buildings look like and then what's been added later. So no longer the post office either, it's now H&M, so it's a clothing store. Okay, so we need to look at the Commonwealth Bank building back at the heritage site. 1933, Murdoch, interwar beaux-arts. I don't think we need to know all that. I did want to point out 6-storey, stone-clad with basement, built in 1930 to 33, so way out of the timeline also, I thought. From the Heritage website, construction commenced in April 1930 and completed in 1933. Interesting to note that everything was brought from Greenmount Quarry and transported by dray. And it opened on the 22nd of March 1933. So that's interesting. 1930s, they're still transporting by dray. It is a government job. The Perth building was designed by the Commonwealth Department of Works under the direction of John Smith Murdoch, Commonwealth architect. The plans carry the signature of Thomas Hill, the Director of General Works. Murdoch designed the bank in the beaux-arts style, which not only responded to the design principle in the similarly styled GPO next door, but was also in the same style as the head office of the Commonwealth Bank in Martin Place in Sydney. Murdoch was responsible for the design of all 3 buildings and also had a leading connection with the design of practically all Commonwealth built works during the above period, so 1904 to 1928. So let's look at the Commonwealth Bank in Sydney just to compare. So this is the building, and not to be confused with this building, which doesn't look anything like it. So I know I've got the right one. So again, with the columns, similar heights, similar design. We've got, I think, portholes there. Almost identical. It is on a slope and it is between 2 totally different street heights. Almost identical buildings apart from the different stones. This is pink granite, I believe. But let's go through these. Here's a construction photo of it. And that's a much more interesting construction. Sydney must have had much better occupational health and safety than Perth. And I don't know, that doesn't look like timber scaffolding to me. That actually looks like steel scaffolding. There it is, done. And Martin Place railway station is down under here. So this is all, there's tunnels under there. Just some details. Designed by Ross and Rowe Architects. So there's no mention of Mr. Murdoch. No mention of Mr. Murdoch anywhere. No mention of Commonwealth Architect. Also built by Concrete Constructions. So just on the Victorian heritage site, I wanted to look slightly more into the former mail exchange while I'm here, or travel all over the countryside. Completed in 1917, John Smith Murdoch, 7-storey steel frame building, beaux-arts, red brick, details, giant order, ionic capitals rising through 3 stories, bronze steel framed windows. This bit. An under-road tunnel connects the sub-basement to platform 2 at Spencer Street Station. So that's the secondary train station in Melbourne. Flinders is the more prominent one. Wow, that's just amazing. Oh, and let's look through these construction photos. Okay, so this is she in construction. No hint of a scaffold at all. And there should have been a building somewhere right here from the other pictures. Pieces of the sandstone columns. I don't know. So they're going in here. It's a bit blurry. I don't know why you would stack them up there. Still nothing in the way of scaffold. Lots of barrels. Somebody tell me what the barrels are for. Why we need so many barrels when we're building. So this is inside. That's interesting. So here's more of the columns. Okay, so they're lifting them from there over here. There's no sign of a scaffold whatsoever. They're just craning stuff into place, and people must be, I don't know, hanging off ropes. I don't know what's going on there. Lots of pieces. Nobody doing anything. Is this a power line or something? Be dangerous to build around, wouldn't it? There's shed. So they built a building for a couple of years and then they tore it down to build the Commonwealth Bank. Interesting. I think that's about it. Oh, maybe that is the shed. That's where all the tops of the columns. Stone blocks. Muddy street. Interesting. This one. So this is, here we go. This is inside the postal hall. So this guy's kind of lounging on the ladder. It looks like he's wearing a 3-piece suit though. This could well have been in the years where there was embargoes and strikes and nothing was happening. Or maybe they just found it and it was partially built or partially destroyed. I don't know. That's a really interesting image, that one, isn't it? And this is all red brick. Wow. There it is. So this is how it looks today. Well, a few days ago. You see the lane in between the two buildings. I'll show you from the other side. I just wanted you to get a sense of it. Look how little the people are. Like most buildings, you just walk under it and Perth's nothing special. There's the seal of the Corporation of Australia and the Royal Ascent. Okay, so you're just looking at the lane there between the two buildings. And then this would be on the GPO side. You can see that the window still goes down below the ground there. Just some details on the stone, and you can see at the bottom there's a block being replaced. Close up, this is the Mahogany Creek stone. This is the back of the Commonwealth Bank building. There again, that window with below ground. So this is in the lane and we're significantly below Forrest Place at this point. And the well for the bottom of the window. Looking back, this is then the tunnel that goes under Forrest Place and comes out down near the station, and the whole car park underneath, and the Maya building up above. So that's where I was photographing the building from. And that's an entire look at the lane. So it rises and it drops away again towards the back of the building. And then we end up, this is at the back under the walkway on the other side of the GPO building. So you can see all that red brick, you can see all the same window frames that were described for the Melbourne building. And all 7 stories plus the basement. So we're technically down here at the basement level under the walkway. So was it a basement? Was it the original first floor? So as much as I'd love to give you some soothing words like John Levy manages to, I'll just read this out while you look at some images. So this is from the big propaganda display inside the lobby. Mum and I stopped and had a look in there the other day and studied all the pictures, etc. There's a whole lot of photoshopping. I'll pop them in and have a look. So the GPO was built using only the best craftsmen and the highest quality local materials, including Donnybrook stone and Mahogany Creek granite. A grand building on a monumental scale, its exterior neoclassical details followed through to the interior, particularly in the 2-story high postal hall, which made extensive use of Western Australian Jarrah timbers. Wartime shortages, a steel embargo, and strikes, together with the swampy site conditions, hindered progress, and in 1916 work had only reached first floor level. 3 years later, in 1919, much still remained to be done, and W.B. Hardwick, Mr. Beasley's successor, was hoping that the building would be completed by 1921. However, the decision to add a further 2 floors meant that the building was not completed until 1923. In the presence of Honourable W.G. Gibson, Postmaster General, the GPO Perth was officially opened on the 26th of September 1923 by the Governor-General of the Commonwealth of Australia, the Right Honourable Henry Forster. Being West Australia's largest and most expensive building, the West Australian newspapers dubbed it a postal palace, a worthy title for what remains a rare and imposing example of a large neoclassical building in Australia. Note that said rare. This is a nice image from Aussie Jeff of Murray Street. So this is looking back the other way. That would be the Padbury buildings down here, the Bones building, and that's the Commonwealth Bank building. Before this all became pedestrian mall through here, and a couple of interesting buildings here too. Now long gone, so this is where the new station, the underground station, has been redeveloped to. This one, 1930s. Where are we here? So this is, no, that can't be right, 1930s. 1930s. Okay, so we haven't even started the... This is different again. So something has been built there from when we originally visit this building. The first building looks like there's a shed there. There's basically just a big tin shed, and now that's an actual building, and the street has gone through, and we're still between cars and horse and carts, but no sign of the Commonwealth Bank building yet. Inside, it must have been absolutely lovely, but...
Behind the post office services are the men and women who make them work, serving the stamps, the money orders and postal notes, paying pensions and repatriation allowances, issuing wireless licenses and tax stamps, taking parcels, registered letters and telegrams.
This is all that's remaining of the post office before it became the H&M store. So this is now all the H&M store, and I believe they've put a whole floor in here. This is where the propaganda display is that I'll put in. And they've now done this up above. More pictures. This is the Commonwealth Bank building, 1937. Okay. This is now gone. So the road level has been increased, and this, it was there until fairly recent years, so probably in the, was it the 90s, when they redid to a pedestrian mall and rebuilt. And this is the lane, which was a downhill, is now dug out much further, so you go straight from this height here. You either go down steps or you come down a road below and completely under Forrest Place. So you can see there's actually a lot more steps. There might be a clearer photo as we go through. And then that looks like a different building yet again. And this is the original hotel, which I can't really tell much about, other than this was the red and white stripes that's so famous. Another image back in the day, that one is, sorry. Another image, 1933, and now the Commonwealth Bank is there completely. 1934. This is a nice image. Okay, 1934. We've got tram lines. Central Hotel is still there. There is more steps than what there is now. The aerial that was added in 38 or 39. In colour, this is, must be the late 60s or 70s. The HQ, first car I ever drove. So you can see there how the lane goes down, and it doesn't look like that steeper an incline, but very different now. So just a tiny bit more on Forrest Place from our national broadcaster. This was where the Padbury buildings were. The Bones building, I'm pretty sure, was multiple buildings. And that was a huge department store. So this all gets torn down and becomes the new Myer building. And this gets completely dug out, and you now ramp down here, ramp down under, and there's a massive car park area and service area underneath what is now Forrest Place. So there's not really anything to see there in regards to the GPO, unfortunately. This is what we wanted to look at. So freshly built. Now you'll take note, this is where the Commonwealth Bank is now. So there was meant to be, Wikipedia talks about an unhealthy arcade here. I'm not sure what's going on with the shadow there, but this is all dirt and grass, and this is meant to be finished. Okay. And this is the, so this is, government of the day decided to knock down the arcade to create a short road linking Murray and Wellington Streets. It was named Forrest Place after the first Premier, Sir John Forrest. Pulling down of the picturesque old Central Arcade to make way for the new GPO Street meant general far and wide scattering of tenants who have been clustered together for many a long year. So when that was pulled down in 23, and then the Padbury, this is the Padbury building, that's the old Bones building. Again, a very big building. The Padbury building, built in 1925, is full of little tiny shops. So I don't know, there must have been something there before. Why would you build a massive monument of a building like that fronting straight onto the side of this building? If you can figure it out, you let me know. On the Heritage Perth website, the Forrest Place was created in 1924, a year after the General Post Office had opened. Let's look at the Padbury building for a moment. Part of a set of buildings. Demolished in 1987. Okay, constructed 1924 to 1925. This is what it looked like. This is a lovely image. And the Bones building is in behind it. The street now, Forrest Place. This is it under construction, but I'm still a bit iffy about this one as well. This column here has a nice broad shadow, and this one seems to, I don't know, is that a pile of sand covering up the shadow? Not sure what's going on there. But anyway, that's a construction image. Feel free to go back and have a look yourself. Another image, I'm guessing about the 50s, maybe 60s, looking at the cars. Here we go. So I just want to look at the whole block because I can't stop at one building. So here we are with the former GPO. This is the Commonwealth Bank. This is a whole new redevelopment that happened probably nearly 10 years ago, the underground station. So there's the main station, and they've now built an underground line which heads south. So I wanted to put us in here. These buildings are all of relevance, not just these ones, and this one too. This is it's hiding behind the scaffold, depends which position you're in on Google, but I managed to get a picture of it today with the top layer now clear of scaffolding. And I also got another sneaky peek in the gate where the construction's going on. Okay, so this is the walkway, which is at what should be ground level. Coming back the other way, I don't know if that's revamped or new or old or what. We'll see this building, you'll recognise it because of its proximity to the beer garden here. And these 3-course brick lintels are a dead giveaway on most of the buildings I'm finding around here. So I mean, this has gone through a whole lots of incarnations by the look of it, and there's a big beam across here and that's all been re-bricked, but you can see these original windows. And then the same at the top of this building, but these ones have all been changed out. And we'll see if Google lets me get out. And the side here, so we've got the same 3 courses of brick, and they seem to be all about the place. You can even spot it easily when they're painted because of the slightly curved head of the window, and so many courses deep as well. But I'm trying to get to down here. You can see this has all been re-bricked on this one, so that's all been changed. And there's an original, that's a helpful pointer, original 3 courses there, 3 courses there, and again down here. So we were level all the way through until just dropping away here to get back to the street level. Oh, disembodied head. So I could go up and down the street and be here for another week or two. This building, they've now taken the top layer of scaffold off, so finally after months and months I've been able to see it, and it did not disappoint. I'll pop the photo in of that. And timing of all timings, I caught a bus from just down here this morning, and there was the gate open, and I snapped another one of those 3 courses of bricks right near the ground again. So that was one we were looking at, the windows right near the ground. This was the one with all the significant brickwork changes at the back. Then there's this beauty, and we're pretty much standing in the swamp now. And back down under here, they've built a whole bus station under the ground as well. So it looks like more and more of Perth is underground than I thought. I'm still noticing what's above ground. And then back to the, just wanted to look at the levels here. So getting back up to the level of Forrest place now, you've got either a few steps here or a bit of a ramp, and then you're back at GPO height. And the station, which is not the same station in the picture that was at the swamp, but it's much grander now. So that wraps us up for this time, folks. Thank you so much for joining me. Sorry it dragged on again. Went to cover one building, covered 4, and the rest of the block. I'm sorry, I can't help myself. I hope you're enjoying it. Leave a comment. Catch you next time.